10. So I shall keep on updating you as soon as
দিয়েছি দিয়েছি। হ্যাঁ। ক্যামেরাটা মুভ করছি, ফ্রেম ড্রপ হয় কিনা দেখবেন। ও
ওমা, তাহলে তো
না, এটা শুধু এখানেই হবে, কারণ এটার সাথে কোনো কানেকশন নেই।
A very good morning to all our distinguished guests, resource persons, both from outside the state of Tripura and our university departments, and from our affiliated colleges, teachers, research scholars, staff, and my dear students. The Research and Development Cell of Tripura University initiates a new chapter this morning with the inaugural ceremony of its first 3-day national conference on the focal theme Higher Education and Research Towards a Transformative and Sustainable Society during the 10th, 11th, and 12th of October 2023. All of us this morning are humbled by the august presence of the Honorable Chief Minister of Tripura, Professor Dr. Manik Shaha, who has so kindly set aside a few precious moments for us from his extremely busy schedule to grace this occasion as our chief guest. Thank you, sir. Your presence makes this occasion so deeply meaningful and shall be memorable for each one of us here. We are also thrilled to have with us this morning on this dais veteran academic Professor Ekalavya Sharma, strategic advisor and distinguished senior fellow of the Ashoka Trust for Research in Ecology and the Environment at TRI Bengaluru, with an impeccable track record of 35 years of experience in sustainable development. We are humbled to have him here as our keynote speaker. His keynote address shall follow shortly after this inaugural ceremony. Professor Sharma is also the chairman of the G.V. Pant National Institute Himalayan Environment under the Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climate Change, Government of India, and policy advisor of the International Center for Integrated Mountain Development, Kathmandu, Nepal. We also have with us in this dais today uh, the chief patron of this conference, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Ganga Prasad Pasain, who shall preside over this auspicious inaugural ceremony, along with the other two distinguished patrons of this event, Professor Shamul Das, Dean, Faculty of Arts and Commerce, and Professor Badal Kumar Dotto, Dean, Faculty of Science. Thank you for your presence. We are also blessed by the presence of Dr. Deepak Sharma, respected Registrar at Tripura University. The entire conference has been envisioned and actualized by its director, Professor Ajoy Kumar Shaha, who is also the director, Research and Development Cell of Tripura University. I, on behalf of the director, Professor Ajoy Krishna Shaha, and the conference convener, Dr. Shaftoshi Mitro, extend a very warm welcome to all of you here assembled today. May I now request Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, to kindly felicitate Professor Dr. Manik Shaha, the Honorable Chief Minister of Tripura and the chief guest of this occasion, with the University Utsario bouquet and a humble memento from us. Student volunteers, please assist. The Honorable Vice Chancellor shall also present a token of love to the Honorable Chief Minister from the University, prepared by the Bamboo and Cane Development Institute, Tripura. May I now request the conference director, Professor Ajoy Krishna Saha, to felicitate the president of this inaugural ceremony and the chief patron of this conference, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Ganga Prasad Hussain. Student volunteers, please. May I now request respected Registrar Dr. Deepak Sharma to felicitate our keynote speaker, Professor Ekalavya Sharma. May I now request Dr. Shaptoshi Mitro, the conference convener, to felicitate Professor Shamal Das, Dean Faculty of Arts and Commerce. I would also request Dr. Shaptoshi Mitro to felicitate Professor Badal Kumar Tatto, Dean Faculty of Science. May I now request Professor Ajoy Krishna Saha to felicitate the Registrar of the University, Dr. Deepak Sharma. I now request the Dean Faculty of Arts, Professor Shamal Das, to felicitate the conference director, Professor Ajoy Krishna Saha. Finally, I request Professor Ajoy Krishna Saha, sir, to felicitate the conference convener, Dr. Shaptoshi Mitro. May the light of knowledge continue to shine bright in our hearts forever. We now play the Kul Geet of Tripura University. May I request members of the audience to rise up and respect our university Kul Geet. The Kulgeet has been sung by the students of the Department of Music, Tripura University, composed and directed by Dr. Utpal Biswas, Assistant Professor, Department of Music, Tripura University. I now request the Conference Director, Professor Ajoy Krishna Shah, to deliver the welcome address.
শুভ সকাল, শুভ দিন, good morning, good day. My heartfelt greetings to all attendees. Today is the day memorable to me for achieving my dream come to an excellent success for organizing the national conference with the overwhelming, formidable volunteering of support and effort by the organizing members. The auspicious day will be imprinted in the minds of all participants by the presence of our Honorable Chief Minister, Professor Dr. Manik Shah, who has kindly consented to grace the occasion as chief guest. I, on behalf of Tripura University, Research and Development Cell, express my wholehearted welcome and profound gratefulness to you, sir. Our CM, by his vibrant and visionary frame of mind, successfully launched NEP 2020 from this academic year. I convey my heartiest welcome to Professor Ekalubbo Sharma, who is the keynote speaker of this conference. I myself, all faculties, research scholars, students, participants are avidly waiting to hear from you, sir. I convey my best wishes and greetings to you, sir. I take pleasure in conveying my gratefulness to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Ganga Prasad Prosain, who personally has taken the initiative and sanctioned the capital fund to organize the conference. I also convey my indebtedness to our Vice Chancellor for sanctioning the innovative research grant for our faculties, which is the first time in Tripura University. I express my gratitude to Professor Shemal Das, Dean Faculty of Arts and Commerce, for being present over the dais. I am very delighted to offer my sense of obligation and gratitude to Professor Badul Kumar Datto, Faculty of Science, for his kind presence. I offer my sincere welcome to Dr. Deepak Sharma, Registrar, and convey my best compliments for his kind administrative execution of my request to organize the conference. Thank you, sir. I express heartfelt and boundless appreciation to my fellow partner, Dr. Saptoshi Mitro, convener of the conference, for his 24 hours into 7 effort to make the event a great success. The motivation of this conference is to generate a research ecosystem in higher education as per the NEP 2020. The cognitive aim of the mega event deserves to cluster and take the boundless challenges to sensitize students, researchers, and teaching fraternity of the globe. And higher education institutions are the forefront of contributing learning, skill, and knowledge, scientific progress, social belongingness, and shaping the nationalist attitude in the minds of future generations. My best wishes to all participants, and I am self-assured that the national conference shall create a sustainable, transformating roadmap to be looked after by the policymakers, people representatives, and government at large. And I also convey my sense of obligation to the participants, and I hope they will be able to feel the differences of knowledge capital before and after attending this conference. And they should have leave the hall, leave the conference with a spirit of implementation of successful outcome in your specific field. At the end of my speech, I humbly appeal to the teaching fraternity to retain some rooms in your work schedule for involving yourself in the social improvement in addition to nurturing your students. My dear teaching faculty, my dear friends, I know you have the academic excellence, but your students are the ambassador and signature of you, and you nurture them in such a way they can fill the social obligation. Your work should transmit from the lab to the field to the farmer, farmer to the uncared uncared people of the society, to let them enjoy the beauty of your outcome and let them self-reliant, let them legislatively acquire it all laws and other things, and we hope that we will take the responsibility, and this is the call of the conference. And our nation in advancing like anything, and the national call is that the united India, greater India, superpower India, and developed India. This should be core of our conference. And we should be a part of this journey to make the India emerging as a developed country in future. Thank you. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir, for those words of motivation. I now invite the conference convener, Dr. Saptoshi Mitro, to provide a few introductory remarks on this national conference.
Very good morning to all the distinguished dignitaries on the dais. Our chief guest, Honorable Chief Minister, Professor Dr. Manik Saha, the President of this inaugural ceremony, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Ganga Prasad Prosen, and all other dignitaries. The first national conference on higher education and research towards a transformative and sustainable society is being organized by the Research and Development Cell, Tripura University, from 10th to 12th October 2023 at the Tripura University campus. The conference will be engaged in 10 number of focal themes based on different subjects of higher education, like literature and language, music, culture, fine arts, social science, education, trade, commerce, law, management, medical and pharmaceutical and health sciences, natural art, environment and applied sciences, engineering and technology, agriculture, food, forestry, sports and physical education, yoga, and interdisciplinary and applied approach. Almost 300 participants have registered. It is relevant to state that the participants are not only from the Tripura University and also other higher educational institutions of Tripura, but also a good number of participants are from the other states like Assam and West Bengal. Distinguished 8 speakers from different universities and academic institutions have also been invited to convey various kinds of environment, economics, language, social science, Gandhian studies, judiciary and constitution, and higher education, and glass and ceramic sciences. The keynote speaker, Professor Ekalabya Sharma, from strategic and advisor and senior fellow of Ashoka Trust for Research and Ecology and Environment India, along with Professor Achin Chakraborty, Dr. Mrinal Pal, Professor Amiya Kumar Panda, Professor Satyadeo Poddar, Justice Subhashit Talapatra, and Professor Chidananda Bhattacharya. We will deliver lectures in 2 different plenary sessions, along with 3 will be 4 technical sessions subdivided into 16 parallel sessions and 1 poster session and 1 unique prototype session. We have put a inspiral schedule for the conference that includes the illustrations of the keynote speaker, prestigious panelists, and committed presenters. These thought leaders will share their knowledge, wisdom, and experiences to enlighten the way ahead. We cordially welcome you to all these active participate in these conferences and conversations, cast doubted with the widely held beliefs and add to the ongoing conversation that will shape the directions of learning and research in our country. We'd like to express our heartfelt gratitude to all the members of the National Advisory and Internal Advisory Committee members. I must acknowledge the tireless efforts of the faculty members, scholars, and the efforts who are burning their midnight to all the make the conference a successful one. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mitra. May I now invite one of the patrons of this conference, Professor Shamal Das, Dean, Faculty of Arts and Commerce, to say a few words on this occasion.
A warm welcome and good morning to all of you. We are here on a very auspicious and remarkable occasion for this university. Our respected and beloved Chief Minister of Tripura, the chief guest of this occasion, our beloved Vice Chancellor, Professor Ganga Prasad Pashain, Chief Patron and President of the inaugural ceremony, the keynote speaker, Professor Ekalabya Sharma, ATREE, Bengaluru, Professor Ajay Krishna Shah, a very respected and beloved teacher of our university, and a remarkable person I have experienced in this university during my long tenure as a teacher in this university. Dean of Science, Professor Badal Kumar Datta, and our Registrar, Dr. Deepak Sharma, and our younger brother, Saptarshi Mitra, the convener of the conference. We are a family. We stand together here for perhaps celebrating the great thing which we have seen of late, that we have arrived in the moon, and our journey towards the sun is on. And here it reminds me of the few lines of which Tagore long back said, "Poschim aji খুলিয়াছে হার, সেটা হতে সবে আনে উপহার, দেবে আর নেবে মিলাবে মিলিবে এই ভারতের মহামানবের সাগর তীরে." What has been said long back is being practiced now, and India has become rich and has become famous for this culture of knowledge, which is a gift of combination of two things, nature and nurture. Our researchers, our students, our libraries, our scholars, universities create the nurture and do research on the gifts given by nature. Combined together is what we are today. But the journey is not yet over. University means a place where knowledge is dealt with at the universal level. There is no local or parochial identity of knowledge. So whether it is with the gift of science, which is primarily developed of late in the Western country, but it is the vision of the East which combines us and which put the world together, and the future is ahead. And as I can understand and feel, that 21st century belongs to India to lead the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Das. May I now invite Professor Badal Kumar Datta, Dean, Faculty of Science, and one of the patrons of this conference, to make his valuable observations.
Good morning, everybody. The dignitaries present on the dais, Professor Dr. Manik Saha, Honorable Chief Minister of Tripura, and he is the chief guest in this occasion. Our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Ganga Prasad Prasad, he is the chief patron and president of this conference. The keynote speaker, Professor Ekalambo Sharma, actually Bengaluru. Professor A.K. Saha, the director and overall coordinator, overall management unit for this important seminar. Dr. Deepak Sharma, registered and very active person and support every time, supported in every aspects. Dr. Saptorshi Mitro, the coordinator of this seminar, our faculty members, and the faculty members from outside the university or institutes, our officials, media persons, research scholars, and students. I think this is the first time that Tripura University organized such kind of conference. Such kind of conference means we always organize a conference either in the physics department or botany or geology or human physiology or chemistry or others, philosophy or political science or history. But this seminar involved all the departments, all the research scholars, all the students. And you know that the theme, there is a higher education and research. Higher education actually creates a skilled human resource. A skilled human resource means a skilled human resource which contributes something to the development of the society, overall economic development in the country. If you see throughout the world, every corner of the world there is a Indian, and that Indian is a skilled person. That's why he is there. Although we are very much behind according to the Western country in the education sector, but this is the country of 140 crores Abadi population. And if you have seen, there are so many primary schools, secondary schools, higher secondary schools, colleges, universities. And the government of India and government, every state government, they maintain. When we were in the primary school, we went in the primary school by a jute bag. But that teachers skilled us in the primary section, in the school, in the higher secondary section, in the college section, university section, and the PhD section. So India have all. The recent government of India introduced national education policy, and that education policy, it is a seedling or sapling. अभी तो चारा गाछ लगाया ना, we will obtain the fruits after 5 to 10 years. In 20 years back, one of my friends go to Canada for a postdoctoral fellow for 1 year, and when he came to India at the Damdam airport, he cut his hair. His residence in the Bali near Uttarpara, Kolkata. And at that time, 20 years back, for the cutting the hair, the cost is about $70, $10. Because that salon owner is a skilled person and he has the diploma of barbarism. But in India, there is no such barbarism degree of diploma, but in fashion designing business. The Britishans. So we want skilled person and skilled degree. And in near future, in the NEP, there are ability enhancement course, vocational course, and skilled enhancement course. So in future, India will place the first position in the world in terms of education purpose. So thank you everybody for coming here and for the success. And I wish the organizer, for the success of this seminar. So thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dotto. May I now invite Professor Ekalavya Sharma, veteran academic and strategic advisor and distinguished senior fellow of Factory Bengaluru, to say a few introductory words before his actual keynote address that shall follow the inaugural ceremony.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chief Minister, Professor Manik Shah, who is the chief guest of this conference, Vice Chancellor of this university, Professor Parsain, then the director of the conference, Professor Shah, dignitaries on the dais, distinguished participants, faculties, and students. It's indeed a great honor for me to come to Tripura and be part of this conference. First, let me congratulate the University of Tripura for organizing very timely a conference on higher education and research, which talks about sustainable society, which talks about transforming India. And the role of research and higher education in achieving this goal is very, very important. And I see very number of young researchers here, and the role of young researchers are going to be very critical and important. Let's just remember vision of our Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, who says when we are 100 years of our freedom by 2047, we would like to be a developed nation. In order to become a developed nation, one of the pillars of achieving that goal is higher education and research. Unless we have a competent education system and research, we will be very much having lots of hurdles to reach there. For that, rightly, a new education policy, national education policy, was introduced in 2020. And I'm very glad, again, would like to congratulate Tribhuvan University that in this academic year, this is being implemented here. Wonderful. Congratulations once again. Very importantly, when we talk about research, sometimes we think of only publishing papers and forget. I think this is not the era of doing research in that direction. Whether it is fundamental research or whether it is applied research, we have to see research into use. So for fundamental research or for applied research, one of the best ways is to put that research immediately into university education system curriculum. I think that is one fundamental thing. But we have to see how education or research that is being done can be used by policy. So humble to see Honorable Chief Minister of the state attending this conference clearly indicates there is so much open-heartedness from our state governments and national governments to hear about the findings of research. I think there will be a lots of uptake if we are able to negotiate and if we are able to give the right message from the research to the government. I think this is the policy part. Third very important part of research into use is our local communities. I am so glad, again, congratulations to the university. I am seeing Professor Madam sitting here this morning when I was having breakfast with her. She said, microbiology department is already having so much of research that is directly going into use. And that is for the business or that is for the communities, forestry. I was talking with Professor Das Gupta yesterday. So there are a number of research which are being used by the communities. I think when we talk about research in the new education policy, it has to be thought in this direction. And the last point which I want to make now before the main presentation later on is when we think of research, it is not disciplinary research. We have to be solution oriented research. And for that, multidisciplines have to come for a solution in an integrated or interdisciplinary research, but also taking knowledge from the local people, traditional knowledge systems, from the business, from government, everybody. So that becomes a transdisciplinary research. So let's move out of our cocoon from individual research, try to address interdisciplinary research, and then finally target the transdisciplinary research to go into the solution. Solution means our target of becoming a developed country by 2047. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Sharma. We have all been waiting for this moment. I feel both humbled and privileged to request the chief guest of this occasion, Honorable Chief Minister of Tripura, Professor Dr. Manik Shah, to deliver his address and motivate all of us.
কেউ ক্যামেরা দিয়ে ফিট করতে পারবে? আমি যদি ক্যামেরা সেলফি দিয়ে দিই, ক্যামেরা দিয়ে এখন দেখো।
Namaskar and good morning to all. And Hambai, Kulumka. Today, in the program of National Conference on Higher Education and Research towards a transformative and sustainable society, organized by the Research and Development Cell, Tripura University. On this occasion and on these programs on Dayas, Professor Ganga Prasad, Prashini, Vice Chancellor, Tripura University, Professor Ajay Kumar Shah, Director, Research and Development Cell, Tripura University, Professor Shamal Das, Dean and Faculty of Arts and Commerce, Professor Badal Kumar Datta, Dean and Faculty of Science, and Professor Ekalubba Sharma, Keynote Speaker, ATREE Bangalore, who has just now delivered his speech, Dr. Saptarshi Mitra, convener of this conference, Dr. Deepak Sharma, Registrar of Tripura University, and of Dayas research scholars, professors, faculty members, students, and media personnel. Without research, nothing can be done. I was also involved in research in oral cancer, and I had to go to Delhi to present my topics in ICMR. I can understand what is research. And I'm very glad that in Tripura University, this research and development cell has been formed. And I'm also very glad that first time they have arranged this kind of national conference. Really, For that, I must give thanks to the organizer. Universities are laboratories of the future. And without research in universities, we cannot think of. Research must be the curriculum should be in the universities. And they incubate life, safety, and security for the future citizens of the world through knowledge creation and knowledge dissemination. The research and innovation cell of Tripura University, through the organization of the National Conference on the goals of higher education towards a transformative and sustainable society, has taken a commendable steps to sensitizing students and scholars on the need to not just dream but make sustainable living a practical possibility. Our great nation, Bharat, has very successful, led by G20 summit on the front under the able statesman of the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who has risen the stature of a global guru, offering his hand to less developed and economically compromised nation of like Africa, as already you know, to participate in the novel enterprise of creating the climate of one earth, one life. Recently, Sikkim suffered one of the worst cloudbursts, affecting hundreds of tourists and residents of this northeast region. Devbhumi, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh have been regular victims of the fury of Mother Nature on account of unchecked greed of men who are not ready to leave even an inch of space for our flora and fauna. Flourish and thrive at peace in their natural habitats. The earth has no room for all. The earth has for this kind of natural disasters. Our education systems, our curriculum should be geared towards preservation of our ecosystem in all possible ways. Our students should be taught to the skilled enough to innovate and develop ways of sustainable living. The new education policy 2022 already talked about it, emphasizes on the enduring qualities of the great Indian knowledge tradition that had always prompted sustainable living at all times in all our life practices, starting from our buildings and architectures to our agriculture, our food habits, and knowledge distribution practice. It is not possible to retrieve all that is lost or outmoded, but it is definitely possible to revive the spirit of living through the understanding of the values of life enshrined in our ancient knowledge system. Bharat and her enduring culture can show the path to the world that is increasingly becoming abundant from the core values of sustainable living. Tripura and the entire northeastern region of India have been blessed with abundance of nature. Economical hotspots are innumerable in this region. Research in the universities of the Northeast may begin with the study of this region themselves to investigate on how this region may contribute to the core values of sustainability amidst the demands of materialistic development. I would urge the authorities of all universities of Tripura and the Northeast to come together and invest their knowledge capital to study this region deeply and provide new entry points to global knowledge on sustainability and one earth centric curricula in our universities. I would urge Tripura University to practically implement our Honorable Prime Minister's motto of vocal for local by focusing on the immense cultural, ethnic, ecological, and natural diversity of Tripura and the Northeast by promoting studies on region-specific domestic of knowledge, studies on the history and geography of the region, studies on the forest of the region, studies on habitats and lifestyles of the region that have remained unaffected through decades of urban encroachment may be prompted through the new curriculum. Our rich ancient Ayurveda tradition has grown and fostered in the lap of our forests. We all know that Tripura is a forest-rich region. Valuable herbal plants and may still be lurking undiscovered in our forests. Who knows when one of our students from Tripura University may end up discovering a precious herbal plant from a forest that would contribute to the cure of a complicated disease. Earlier, India in many global forums would have been dictated upon by foreign powers belonging to the so-called developed nations. We were miserably sandwiched between the agenda of our globally powerful and economically rich nations. It was very difficult to raise our voice amidst the discord of global voices in any important global forum. But today, suddenly, every common Bharatiya will admit in one voice that under the able leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, our stature has steadily grown. It has all happened in the last decade and not magically so. It has happened because of his vision, his unstinted and unstoppable efforts, his dynamic personality, and his dedication to once again make India a superpower that it once was in the ancient times. Today, Bharat proudly and freely proclaims her independent autonomous voice. We are not dictated upon by foreigners. We have made our presence felt. We are consulted on several issues on global platforms. We, with our ancient and enduring value systems, may make a difference. And we have successfully begun to make a difference, but miles still remain to be covered, and we cannot afford to sleep. With these words, I once again congratulate the organizer of this conference and all the teachers, students, research scholars, guests, and resource persons from inside and outside Tripura University. The future is in your hand. Go and grab it. New Bharat belongs to you. Jai Hind. Namaskar.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Minister, sir, for those powerful words of motivation. You have enlightened all of us here this morning. May I now request Honorable Vice Chancellor of Tripura University, Professor Ganga Prasad Pasain, and also the President of this inaugural ceremony to deliver the presidential address.
Good afternoon. Namaskar. Honorable Chief Minister of Tripura and Chief Guest of this program, Professor Dr. Manik Sahaji, keynote speaker of the National Conference on Higher Education and Research towards Transformative and Sustainable Society, Professor Eklavya Sharma, strategic advisor and distinguished senior fellow, former VC Terry University, Delhi, former Deputy Director General ICI Mode, Kathmandu, Nepal, patron of the conference and Dean Faculty of Arts and Commerce, Tripura University, Professor Syamal Das, Dean Faculty of Science, Professor Badal Kumar Datta, Dr. Deepak Sharma, Registrar, Conference Director, Professor Ajay Krishna Saha, Conference Convener, Dr. Saptarshri Mitra, faculty members of different departments of Tripura University and colleges, invited resource persons, paper presenters, delegates, research scholars, students, representatives from media, both print and electronics, invitees, ladies and gentlemen. I, once again, on behalf of Tripura University, On behalf of the organizing committee of this 3 days national conference, and my own behalf, extend very warm and heartiest welcome to Honorable Chief Minister of Tripura, Professor Manik Sahaji, and all the distinguished paper presenters and guests who are assembled in this program. One of the major recommendations of National Education Policy 2020 is the establishment of National Research Foundation, NRF, and National Research Foundation intends to create thriving research, education, and innovation ecosystem. And also one of the main objectives of this NRF is to seed, grow, and facilitate research at academic institutions, particularly in universities and colleges in India. National Research Foundation is targeted at encouraging a research-oriented mindset in higher institutions of education in our state and also in our country. In Tripura University also, we have established research and development cell, and we have initiated many research programs. We have also allocated certain amount of fund as a seed money, which shall be provided to our promising faculty members of the university for undertaking some innovative research. This national conference on higher education and research towards transformation and sustainable society is one of the research activity of the center. I am very happy to know that we have received around 160 research papers which shall be presented in this 3 days conference in various technical sessions on various themes. I like to suggest here is that once the conference is over, we shall be giving around 2 month time to all the paper presenters, delegates who shall be presenting papers, and we shall be selecting and dividing our papers, which shall be read out during this 3 days conference on various broad area like physical science, biological science, social science, humanities, and I assure you that if the paper are updated and if the editorial board can edit it, then I take the responsibility of publishing all this paper in the form of edited books from a very, very reputed publisher outside Tripura. I believe that the interaction and deliberation which shall be taking place in this 3 days conference shall be very, very fruitful, and our scholar of the university will get an opportunity to present their paper, their research finding, and they will be also given the opportunity to interact with the fellow colleagues, and particularly the research scholars, professors, paper presenters, including our keynote speakers on various themes. And I wish that the outcome of this seminar will be very, very fruitful, and it will give a roadmap for the future course of action in the area of research and development in Tripura University as well as in Tripura State. I congratulate Professor Ajay Krishna Shah, under whose leadership this program has been organized, and I wish that all the paper presenters will be given sufficient time to present their paper. I wish the all success of this conference. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir. May I now request the Registrar of Tripura University, Dr. Deepak Sharma, to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you very much. It's really indeed privilege and proud moment for me to propose, say, a word of thanks for this kind of event, academic meet that is taking place in Tripura University, probably for the first time in recent years. And this is really an entailing responsibility. I hope I will be able to discharge this responsibility with full satisfaction. I, on behalf of Tripura University and each and every participant present here and who will be participating in technical sessions in 3 days to come, thank Professor Manik Shah, Dr. Professor Manik Shahji, Chief Minister of Tripura, for really, taking time out of his busy schedule and be present with us. We sincerely express our gratitude and reverence to you, sir. You, as a guardian of Tripura, we look forward, support and guidance in the affairs of this central university located in Tripura. You have rightly set the tone for the seminar. The theme that this we would be deliberating in next 3 days, and underlying the role of local issues, which really is the need of the time, and research and educating about the local products, local resources, and connecting them with the mainstream is the need of the day. Thank you very much, sir. And we promise that Tripura University, faculty, and all federal stakeholders would be committed to this a great tone of the political leadership of the time. I sincerely thank Professor Eklavya Sharma ji, who would be delivering the keynote address in the next session. But his brief, pointers have definitely, helped us in forming the broad contours of the discussion that would be taking place in next 3 days. My thanks are due to Professor A.K. Shah. Definitely, he commands a special request in the hearts of all of us. A committed teacher and always an enthusiastic and energetic researcher, even at this age. We really thank on behalf of Tripura University. We thank you, sir, for taking this initiative and conceptualizing this great academic meet that Tripura University is hosting today. Thanks are due to Dean, Social Science, Arts and Commerce, Professor Shamal Das ji, Professor Badal Kumar Datta ji, Dean Science, and also the convener of this seminar, Professor Saptarshi Mitra ji. And I know there is a team of dedicated faculty who have been working day and night, especially for last couple of days, to make this event a success. Thanks are due to all the participants here and all the stakeholders that would be connecting with the with us for next 3 days. And with this, I would also like to mention just 2 points when we will be deliberating upon this theme as a higher education and research, and towards forming a transformative society. I know transformative society is an ambitious task, but we as a researcher have a responsibility, because especially in India, social transformation is not handled, with that kind of maturity. Social transformation has consequences. Social transformation has challenges, because India is not exactly the transformative society. We are a prismatic society, wherein with respect, we want to progress, we want to achieve modernity, but at the same time, we want to carry with us the our traditions, our past, our traditionalism. And these sentiments are more in this part of India. So we need special research methodological tool to address this kind of social issues and social problems. And with these words, I will be failing in my duty if I don't thank our guardian, our Kulpati, Professor Ganga Prasad Prasanji, who is really a driving force behind each and every activity that this university has witnessed during last 3 years. We sincerely thank you, sir. And with this, I request each and every one of you to give a round of applause for our chief guest, our vice chancellor, sir, our keynote address, and also the organizer of this seminar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. May we now stand up for the national anthem?
जनगणमन अधिनायक जय हे भाग्य विधाता जय सिंह शुभ नामे जागे शुभ आशीष मांगे जय 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 जय
Thank you.
conference themed Higher Education and Research towards a Transformative and Sustainable Society. We shall now hear the keynote address delivered by a prolific academician in his own field, Professor Dr. Ekalavya Sharma. Well, for those from other disciplines who do not know him, here is a man who we must regard pricelessly valuable for our present times when our planet is passing through one of the worst phases in human history. Our home, our oikos, the Latin etymological root of ecology, has been threatened, not by aliens or extraterrestrials like we have read about in H.G. Wells's The War of the Worlds, but threatened by our own kind, the humankind. Dr. Ekalavya Sharma stands tall in these times with his work on ecology. Dr. Sharma is a strategic advisor and distinguished senior fellow of Ashoka Trust for Research in Ecology and Environment, Bangalore, India. He is also a chairperson of Scientific Advisory Committee of the G.B. Pant National Institute of Himalayan Environment under the Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climate Change, Government of India, and Policy Advisor, International Center for Integrated Mountain Development, Kathmandu, Nepal. His expertise is on biodiversity conservation, natural resources, transboundary landscape management, biogeochemical cycling in ecosystems, including agroforestry systems, climate change impact assessments, adaptation and nature-based solutions, and resilience building. Uh, he has been an ecologist with over 35 years of experience in sustainable development. He has contributed to research and development as regional head of the G.P. Pant National Institute of Himalayan Environment in Sikkim and the Deputy Director General at International Center for Integrated Mountain Development, Kathmandu. Dr. Sharma was a chief editor of Journal of Hill Research and served the journal Tropical Ecology. He served as an Asia regional editor of the Mountain Research and Development Journal and also was one of the directors of International Mountain Society Switzerland. Dr. Sharma was elected as a Fellow of the National Institute of Ecology, India, 1994, Fellow of the National Academy of Sciences, India, 1999, and Fellow of the Indian National Science Academy, India, 2014. He has contributed to many national and international initiatives, of which to mention some are honorary trustee of the Mountain Institute USA, member of the steering committee of the UNEP's Global Mountain Waste Management Outlook, coordinated by UNEP Vienna office, and several other institutes. Dr. Sharma received many national and international awards, including the Young Scientist Award of the Indian National Science Academy 1988, Vishisht Vaigyanik Puraskar Eminent Scientist Award from the Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climate Change, Government of India 1995, and Honorable Mention Paper Award from the Soil and Conservation Society USA 1999. He received the Excellence Award for contributions in science and environment towards development of the modern India from the Sikkim University and Government of Sikkim in 2017. Dr. Sharma has more than 210 publications in the form of books, book chapters, and research papers in international journals. May I now request Dr. Sharma to please take over.
Thank you very much for such an elaborate introduction. I think it was too elaborate. Anyway, thank you very much, and good afternoon to all of you. Now let's come into the business of the conference. We were in little ceremonial mood in the morning, but now let's talk about the topic very much. We are talking about transformative and sustainable society. So in that context, what I'm going to talk, we are going to talk about the Hindu Kush Himalayan region, vis-a-vis the Indian Himalayan region. But I'll also talk about the mountains of the world a little bit, because mountains are so important. And all our northeastern states are part of this Hindu-Kush Himalayan region. We are sitting here in Tripura. On the left-hand side, your Chittagong Hill tracts of Bangladesh is also part of that. And then, of course, Mizoram, and then further Kachin and Chin states of northern Myanmar is also. So I'm just giving a transboundary feel of Tripura on the both the sides. So in that context, if we look at this whole mountain ecosystem, it's very important. So what I'm going to do is talk about transformation in resilience. So resilience is about society, resilience is about ecosystems, and also about sustainability. So environmental sustainability, but also sustainability for the human goods and services. So this is what I'm going to talk. And very much I've already mentioned. So major issues of sustainability, then of course importance of biodiversity is my field. So I'll also see how things have changed over the years, over the last 1 century in terms of conservation, and what are the research trends looking into these. And then of course, one of the major drivers of change that we have seen is climate change, and how climate change is impacting. And Honorable Chief Minister was talking about Sikkim event, even Kedarnath and other events. They are all, I think, will be related to what I'm going to talk today, with some examples of what we see in this region. So it's very much in this region. And then I'll talk about solutions. It's very important. When we talk about resilience and sustainability, it is about the solutions. And then very much science, since or research into action. So what has been done in the past as an example, and what we foresee for the Indian Himalayan region, that is what I'm going to present. Now mountains, then Hindu-Kush Himalayan region and Indian Himalayan region. So about 1 billion people live in the mountains. So I said 915, it is in 2015. So now it is about 1 billion people. 50% of world's population directly or indirectly depend on goods and services coming from the mountains. And we also have to see the importance of mountains. See, 22% of the terrestrial land surface is under mountains. So if you look at this map globally, you can see that. More importantly, 25% of world's terrestrial biodiversity in the land systems are coming from the mountains. And half of the world's biodiversity hotspots. So there are 36 biodiversity hotspots. Out of that, about 18 of them are in mountains. So you can imagine how important the mountain ecosystems are. And also very importantly, 20 plant species which are providing 80% of food to the humanity. Six of them have originated in mountains. So mountains have very important role to play in the sustenance of this planet Earth. This is a map of the Hindu-Kush Himalayan region. From global mountains, let me bring you to this. So we are somewhere where I have written the Hindu-Kush Himalayan region. So we are somewhere there, down below. So this is, you can see Karakoram, Pamir, Hindu Kush that side, and the Tibetan Plateau and the Himalaya. And then you can see Indo-Burman like that. So I'll talk about that a little later. But it's so important. So I remember we used to work in collaboration with NASA. I think most of you know NASA. So one of the astronauts came and he was talking like me in our institution in Kathmandu, and he said, "See, when I'm in space and when I cross one place in the world of the Earth, I know which is that place. This is the Himalaya region." So he could see from his naked eye from the space this. So you can see the importance of this mountain system is so big, so important in that context also. So this is a frozen ice. If you see frozen water, it is also called third pole. Because apart from two, this is the region where we have most of snow, ice, and permafrost. And this is also a global asset for food. You will see why I'm saying that. Energy, water, carbon, and lots of cultural and biological diversity. So many people here, you are also coming from humanities background. So you will see how important, even when you see the people, the culture. So that is quite important. We have tremendous treasure of culture in this region. So this is the Hindu Kush Himalayan region. The blue part is the mountains. The 8 countries. Let me go from that side: Afghanistan, Pakistan, China, India, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. SAR +2 and -2. +2 is China and Myanmar. Minus is your Maldives and Sri Lanka, because they are not part of this. So this is what I define. 10 major rivers originate from these mountain systems. So Indus, Brahmaputra, and one river of Ganga is originating from one place, and that is Kailash, Mansarovar region. So you can see Brahmaputra goes almost 1500 kilometers east, and it comes as Brahmaputra to India. So similarly, Indus and Satluj also originate there, and it goes towards the west, and it goes to India from China, and then to Pakistan and again. So this is the importance of this mountain. There are 10 rivers. You have Yellow River, Yangtze River. So many rivers are here. And 240 million people live in the mountains. 1.9 billion people are immediately living on the downstream. So, and if you look at this particular map, the red part is the number of people. The more red means high density of people. So there is huge population. So you can imagine China, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, all these are highly populated countries, and this is most populated in the world. So if the Himalaya is not there, it is very difficult to sustain. Maybe this number of people wouldn't have been there. So very important for the Himalaya to know. And this is the most irrigated region in the world, whether it is Indus or Ganga, Brahmaputra, or other rivers. And about 3 to 4 billion people's food security is coming from this region, not the Himalaya, but the water coming the Himalaya is providing in the basins of these rivers, which caters to 3 to 4 billion people, half of humanity. You can imagine how important this region is. And in this region, we have such a diversity of cultures, such a diversity of people, and diversity of traditional knowledge systems. So about 1,000 living languages are here, and about 60 to 70% of them are threatened. And very soon, if they are lost, all the traditional knowledge systems which have been there are also likely to be lost. So in our development process, it is going to be a very big loss for us, because we have to learn from the traditions that is equally important. So what happens in mountains is directly affecting 1/4 of the humanity of this planet. So you can imagine how important. If you look at the indirect effect, like food security, it is half. But if you look at directly, so then it is 1/4 of the population. So you can see there are 4 biodiversity hotspots out of 36 in the in this region. And then, very importantly, high biodiversity, 330 important bird and biodiversity areas, very important dimensions. Now, those people who work with nature, so ecosystems are important, and diversity of ecosystems are very, very important. So what type of ecosystems we find? We find mountains, we find cryosphere, so glacier, permafrost, ice, all those are there. Then riverine, river ecosystems, wetlands, many wetlands. I yesterday met some people from Manipur. So Imphal, you go to Loktak Lake. So all these wetlands so are so important in the context of the climate, in the context of water resource, and for this region. Then coastal, mangroves, and marine, they are very important. Forests, Tripura, very important forests, rangelands, savannas, agriculture and agroforestry, again for Tripura, you can see for entire region. Then urban and built up environment is coming up very much. So for this region, what I say, Himalaya to ocean, H2O is connected by water. So Himalaya to ocean, this is H2O. So very much. So you have to see right from the top of the Himalaya to the Bay of Bengal to see that connection, and we have to work in this context rather than in patch. So what I try to say is that when we design a program at the university level, so different departments they can work, huh? But if we keep that bigger picture, I think we will be in the longer term catering to the need in terms of landscapes, multifunctional landscape, riverscapes. This is the riverscapes. So this is what I feel are very important. Now let's come to the Indian Himalayan region. So I was talking about 8 countries. So what does that mean for our Indian Himalayan region? You can see there are 9 states. One of them is Tripura. All 7 states of and 8 states of Northeast are part of this. But for Assam, we have 2 districts only, hill districts covered in this, and for West Bengal, North Bengal. So otherwise, all others are there. So interestingly, this is a contribution. About 16% of India is in the Indian Himalayan region, what you are seeing. And 86 million people live in the Indian Himalayan region. But if you compare with the Hindu Kush Himalayan region, it is only 11% of the HKH area, Hindu Kush Himalayan region area, but 36% of the HKH population. That means our Indian Himalayan region is much more populated than the other regions. So for us, there are more stresses and there are more challenges to really meet in this region. So let's look into the Indian Himalayan region's contribution to India. So let's see how it is contributing in terms of forests. So 36% of India's forest is in this area. 44% of angiosperms are there. 60% of endemic plant species. 63% of water budget is coming of India from here. And 30% of ethnic groups are from here, and 100% of glaciers and alpine conditions, because nowhere else we have this. So it is very, very important. And some of the major issues for sustainability. So when we look at the mountains and non-mountain areas, poverty is one. So when I say poverty, it is not just economic poverty, it is a multidimensional poverty. So when we talk about multidimensional poverty, it is about health, it is about it is about food security. So this is very important. And if you look at this, of these 8 countries, very clearly you see mountains are poorer in terms of multidimensional poverty. And in India also, you can see very clearly the mountains are more poorer if we look at the multidimensional poverty. So this is one of the biggest issue, and we need to address this issue very much for the people living in the mountains if we want to continue to sustain this mountain ecosystem. Another very important is food insecurity. Now, let me tell you all this data, how we have got it. So, for from 2013, in Iceland, in Reykjavik, I took secretaries of these 8 countries and we agreed to do a comprehensive assessment. There are 350 scientists from all over the world who are working in this region, 80% of them from this region, and 30% of that women participated in this comprehensive assessment, which took 5 years, and it is published in Springer Nature from Europe, and it is open access. So all the researchers, I'm saying, please look into this publication. So it is Hindu Kush Himalaya Assessment Report. It's open access 2019 publication. Please look into that. You will get all the chapters, and it will talk about all dimensions of sustainable development. So food insecurity. 30% of the mountain populations are suffering from food insecurity. Very much warning is the malnutrition. 50% of the people are having malnutrition, and even more worrying, we are talking about future young India. 1/5 to 1/2 of the children are stunted. So how can you expect best performance from them? So we have to address this issue. This is a huge sustainability issue in terms of this. Energy poverty is still 80% of our rural population in mountains are dependent on biomass or dirty energy. So we are not able to really bring that energy to the mountains. So even we have 500 gigawatt hydro electricity potential, but I think we have to see other issues, because I will come to that issue on disaster. If the technologies are, if the systems are not good, then we have other problems also. We have to look into that. There is high out migration. Many people from Uttarakhand, from many people, the region, they are migrating, and our youth are migrating. So, what is the workforce, labor force for our own region, and who will work for us? So, that is also a big issue. Then, biodiversity loss. So, our forests are getting dwindled, and we are also seeing about 70 to 80% of the original habitat compared to 15th century has been already lost. So you can imagine we are working with 30 to 20 to 30% only of original habitat. So in that context, we cannot afford to lose any further. So that is very important. Now let me come to some of the biodiversity related importance and what are the changing paradigms that we have seen in several decades, and what are the research trends very much. So this is, I said 36 biodiversity hotspot. Out of that, 4 are in the Hindu Kush Himalayan region, mountains of Central Asia, then Himalaya is the green one, the Indo-Burman, Tripura is Indo-Burman. So definitely, and then if you go to Arunachal Pradesh, then Himalaya and other comes, and then it meets the Indo-Burman, and then mountains of southwest China. So 4 of them, and for this region, northeastern region, 3 biodiversity hotspots are meeting. As you can see, the blue, green, and yellow. That means there is so much of possibility of endemic species, and there is so much of opportunities for the university to do research on biodiversity, and you will have lots of discoveries. Let me give you one example. So in that, in the last 10 years, for Northeast India only, some of the discoveries we have seen 351 in 10 years. That means much more species are yet to be discovered. That means a lot of research potential are there. Now the paradigm change in the approaches in terms of conservation. So we used to do conservation from 1930s, like charismatic species. Okay, we will tiger conservation and like that for charismatic species. From 1970 onwards, we started habitat, protected area management approach. And then as we move forward, then comes the people's integration in conservation. So people have been brought as part of the ecosystem as part of the conservation. So we have buffer zones where we have ecotourism, community-based approaches are applied in those buffer zones where there is a protected area inside. So it's very, very important. And then comes landscapes ecosystem approach from 1998 to 2020. And now what is happening is multifunctional landscapes. This is what we are saying. Socio-cultural ecological landscapes. So it is the society and the ecology and the ecosystem, they have to go together. So this is the approach paradigm change that has come. So now we are talking about multifunctional and socio-ecological landscape. So when you young researchers are planning, please look into this approach very much and try to adopt. These are the latest approach in conservation. So this region is very rich in endemic species because 3 of the global biodiversity hotspots are meeting. And that means if this endemic species is lost from here, it is lost from this planet. So that is because this is found only in this region. That's why we have to do research. We have to have good data. We have to have good conservation models. So if we look at the endemic species, how many like that? So if we look at Himalaya, you have seen that green one, then Indo-Burman, the yellow one, the mountains of Southwest China and mountains of Central Asia. If let's look only Himalaya and Indo-Burman, which is related to us here in this hall. So plants, almost you can see 30% are endemic. So 30 out of 100 are endemic. If they are lost from this planet. And in Indo-Burman, it is 50% almost, more than 50%. You can see in terms of plant. But if you look at the freshwater fish, the last one, you can see Indo-Burman almost 50% again. So you can imagine how important to conserve biodiversity in these landscapes. So we have to have natural forest systems very much to keep them, some of these biodiversity alive. So what are the status of some of these threatened species? So one is very much, if you look at the most warning is the decreasing. So you can see almost 50% of these species are showing threatened species are decreasing. This is really alarming very much. Stable is about 15-16%. There is only about 12% of them are increasing very much, and a large number, around 28% or so, are unknown. So there is a lots of scope for people to also work on those unknown in terms of research. Now coming to India, if we look at as a country, so biodiversity hotspots, but we are also mega diversity country. So what are the hotspots in India? Apart from Himalaya and Indo-Burman, we have Western Ghats in South India. So Western Ghats is also a hotspot, and Sunderland. You know Andaman Nicobar? So Nicobar is part of the Sunderland hotspot. So this is what we have. But we share 9% of the global species. India shares 9%. So we can imagine of so many countries. How many countries we have? About 200 some countries. Out of that, one country shares 9. So you can imagine how important this country is. And we are the 12th mega diversity country, very much. We have 45,000 plant species and 91,000 animal species. So this shows the importance of this thing. Now let me come to the one of the major drivers of change that we have seen, and this is climate change. And what are the impacts of climate change? In Paris, I was also there. We agreed, and even India has signed that we would like to have a 1.5-degree world. But that is already too hot for the Indian Himalayan, for the Himalayan region. So it is more than 2.1 degree when rest of the world is 1.5. That means we are going to have more problems. But with the current emission in some areas, 5.5 degree rise, that means there are more challenges likely to come from climate change. And then if we look at this slide, the western part of the Himalaya is having more severe consequences in terms of rise of temperature than the eastern Himalayan region. But still, we do have a rise in temperature. But you can see if the eastern Himalayan region will rise 1.9, but still more than 1.5 degree, which is the global temperature rise. But it is rising very, very fast. Many people don't believe in climate change, but I think seeing is believing. This picture was taken 1921 from the China side of the Everest. And you just look at this picture very carefully, what has happened. So just see how much of glaciers. These are all glaciers. So what is happening? So you can see those glaciers have gone. And from the same place taken in 2009. So increase the risk of glacier lake outburst. What happened last week in Sikkim? Similar lake was there. There was landslide and there was so much of cloudburst, so much of water. That lake, the moraine of that lake burst, and then it came down, and the whole story of this floods, cascading impact has happened. So this is what is happening. Number of such lakes are increasing so much in the Himalayan region. There are more chances of having such disasters in the future. Even Kedarnath was the same situation in 2030. So this is what I thought I should definitely share with you. Then if 1.5 degrees, then 1/3 of the glaciers will be gone by 2100. But with the current emission, 2/3 of the glacier. That means if the glaciers are gone, we will have more of such lakes and more of such disasters in future. And we are making more dams and more hydropower projects without having a good warning system. Even if the warning systems are there, they are not functional, they are not used. That is the main worry. And that's what has happened. And many people don't believe also, from about 4 hours time from where this incident happened, the information started coming. But the communities in Singtam, they didn't bother to go away. And many people died just because they didn't listen, because they are not aware of the implications. So disasters, water-induced disasters are becoming very important in the context of climate change. And you can see in this slide, so the big, you can see circles are the intensity as well as the number, frequency of disasters. They have really increased. You must have also observed in this region. And if you look at the slide on this side very clearly, you can see very much yellow is the affected number of people, and then blue is killed. You can see the light blue is number of people. How many people are being killed from decade from 1980 to 1990, 1990 to 2000, and 2000 to 2010. You can see. So it is really a big issue. Disaster is becoming, and the wealth. If you look at the how much of economic loss, the top part of the bar, so that clearly shows. So Sikkim one, or Kedarnath one, or Himachal Pradesh again this year one. All these are very good indicators. So we need to be very careful, and we need to really work towards the resilience on this. So impact of water resources are quite important now. So loss of ice and glaciers. Then we are also seeing people living near to glaciers are suffering very much in the immediate. But in the long term, people living in the downstreams are going to be impacted very much. So you will see in this area there is increased glacier melt, and there will be decline of water availability by mid of this century. By 2050, I think those Pakistan and all those our Ladakh and Himachal from this area will be really suffering. Whereas in Brahmaputra and Ganga, I think we will still have runoff, good runoff, but it is going to come from precipitation rather than just the glacier belt. And you can see people already glaciers are vanishing. This is Ladakh, and people living next to the glaciers are already suffering. So what does this mean in terms of our livelihoods, in terms of our agriculture, or in terms of our food security? So glacier and snow melt dependency, if we look at the top one is Indus. So the blue is very much from glacier, and then the next one, light gray, is coming from water coming from the mountains, and then the last one is water coming from the plains like groundwater and river delta. So you can clearly see Indus is heavily dependent on glaciers. So they are the ones who are going to suffer most. And in Ganga basin, so there, I think more importantly, it is both the plain water. You can see many, I think, Ganga lower downstream area, lots of activities, water, which are from the groundwater. And then also hills. But from Brahmaputra, I think it is the hills, middle hills. So a lot of water coming from the hills, and recharging the streams are going to be critical for agriculture. So I think we have to keep the forest intact in Northeast India. This is a very clear message from this slide. As long as you have good forest systems, you will have continued water system, natural forest system. So this is what is. Now, if we look at again this area, so rice yield to be reduced by 15% by climate change. And you can see the time span here. Again, I will go back, and you can see here. So the green part is the situation now, and the red is being exceeded. So we are going to lose 15%, and the black is totally. So we are going to lose a good amount of food production, rice yield, for our food security. So what are we going to do? What will be our status? How we are going to do? Another big impact of climate change, if you look at, this is Uttarakhand, and from plains, and if you go up the scenario, 1 degree rise in temperature will totally replace the oak forest. Means all, not only oak trees, but all related biodiversity will be also lost, replaced. You can see very clearly just 1 degree rise, and that is going to be a detrimental for our ecosystems. This is the indicator, one indicator, but like that, many species are going to be suffering. So for us now, we have to see different packages and how we are. Now let's see what are these solutions and what are the climate actions and resilience we want to see. So there are many opportunities. We have mountains, high level of agricultural diversity. So we have to see which are the drought resistant, which are the ones which are going to be better species to perform. So this type of selections, high value products, we can suddenly look into. So and there are niche products, something which is found very much only in this region, nowhere else. So you have a comparative advantage. We go to the west, you will get many dry fruits. Come to the east, you get spices like cardamom and like that. So very much. So these are lots of. In the east, you can get green gold. I'll talk about green gold later. So then, in order to bring resilience, let me give you an example of last cardamom. So what happened in last cardamom? So all of a sudden, because of climate change, winter droughts, and during flowering time, there was no rain, and because of that, then cardamom started dying very much. So the people had to look for the diversity. So in that context, we developed an approach. So resistant variety of last cardamom, but also diversifying. So for any communities in their livelihoods, in their practices, if we are able to diversify, then that will give you the resilience. So here you can see kiwi with last cardamom. So if last cardamom fails, kiwi is going to give production, you can see. Then also combined with honeybees. So honeybees also gives you the income. Then spice garden. So many tourists homestay and spice garden in last cardamom. So and then also handicrafts and packaging value addition. So if we diversify, then only. So we should not depend in one crop or one product like that. So there is a need to diversify if we want to develop a resilience. So in our research and packages, we need to think. Now, one very interesting example is this Himalayan gold. It's also called green gold, Himalayan gold. So in Bhutan, they are not allowed to collect it. So I remember in Hong Kong market, that was 2003, 2004, I was trying to buy this Yasa Bomba, looked at this, and then it was, they were saying at that time, $60,000 for 1 kilo. Right. $60,000. No, 1,000 is how much money? $60,000. And it's used so much in China. So later on, right now it is $80,000 for 1 kilogram. So Bhutan was not collecting; it has been banned. So what we did was we worked through sustainable harvesting, and we convinced government of Bhutan, and then Bhutanese were allowed to collect. So Bhutanese started doing this, and this product has been developed. Earlier, the Tibetans used to collect and go, and the ecosystem was totally degraded. Now you can see because of community involved, deferred harvesting, sustainable harvesting, and value addition, they were able to produce this. And we have provided guidelines in Nepal on also sustainable harvesting in Bhutan. So we need to really look into such opportunities. Now coming to climate actions and resilience, I think there are many social protection systems. And in Northeast India, there is so many. In the Himalayan region, there are many social protection. Our traditional institutions, all those, I think we have to scale them up. We have to support them. This is something which can be done immediately. Then another one is nature-based solutions. I said those opportunities for communities to adapt, the ones which are performing very well. So that is one. Then, of course, inclusive and climate responsive financial landscape. I think we lack lots of financial landscape, or we don't have capacity to have the finance access to finance. So even NABARD has so much financial for climate action by designated by government of India, but how many are really achieving this? So we need to see entrepreneurial ecosystem. Somebody was talking about business this morning. So entrepreneurial ecosystem, and then of course infrastructure has to be resilient. And large problem is the labor force which are going out of the mountains. If we are able to manage all of this, it should be very important. Now, finally, looking into this integrated approach for sustainability, I think this is critical. This morning, I also talked about if we want to have about sustainable solutions, research, policy, and practice are important. So, research is for evidence-based, very much, and that information and knowledge, and that has to be put into use suddenly. But researchers then have to be part of think tanking, and then work with the policies, with the policy makers to have a informed policy and decisions. So this is critical. And from the policy side, grassroots and community in action through our panchayat systems, all those should happen. And from research into use good practices, and then they will then both policy and research can then go into good practices, good policies for implementation on the ground. So this is an integrated as approach for sustainability. For many of you, now the new thinking has to be, I said in the morning also, multidisciplinary we say. How do we do multidisciplinary? If there is a problem, then each of the disciplines will try to look at that problem on their own without really interaction. That was good some years ago, but no more valid because you don't get a solution. So the next comes the interdisciplinary approach. We are five people here and there is a problem. All of us discuss. Then we set an agenda to address this with our specialty, but with a common framework, and we go, and that is an integrated approach. That is very good, but we need to have another additional factor, which I mentioned this morning, is to involve local communities, their traditional knowledge systems, local institutions, the business. If we are talking about the Yasagumba, how it is going, the market analysis, the value addition, or their knowledge is part of that package. Then that becomes transdisciplinary, and that is transdisciplinary research is very critical and very important. And I'm sure all of you who are here will try to think of this transdisciplinary approach in your research. Take the knowledge of the communities, take the knowledge of the business partners, take the knowledge of policies in your research. Now, let me go to the last part, science or research to action. And this, I'm giving you an example, just to let you know how we did it. I mentioned about this blue book is the one which is published by Springer Nature. 350 scientists over 5 years. And after 3 years, we got the major summary of results of the assessment. And then we started consulting with the 8 governments of this Indo-Himalayan region. And then in 2 years' time consultation, and then we prepared this Hindu-Kush Himalaya call to action for mountain, very much environment, and then livelihoods of this region. And not only the call, but that call had to be owned by the government. So you on 15th of October 2020, you can see in such a difficult situation when India and Pakistan is fighting, when India and China are having so much of difficulties, all the ministers from 8 countries signed a declaration to really implement the SK's call to action. So this is the type of from science to action, very much reasonable. See, if you talk about politics, no one will sign. But if you talk about good evidence from science, and you will be listened, then they will also participate and they will see the benefit. So always try to take science as a vehicle for the acceptance by politicians or for anybody if you want to really have a bigger impact. So science is the basic and it has to be evidence-based. That is what we have to do. Then for implementing that HKS call to action, there are 3 scenarios. One, if all these 8 countries were collaborating, but because of these wars and like that, if they don't collaborate, we go down the hill. Means all our resources, water will vanish, biodiversity will vanish, people's livelihood will be in the worst situation. The other situation is like now, earlier. So everybody contributes a little bit here and there, but we try to do something that is a little bit of muddling through. And more importantly, we wanted to see prosperous this Hindu-Kush Himalayan region. And for that, People, we have signed a declaration and we are working towards that prosperity. And there are two types of investment. One is investment coming from the down. So the communities, the research coming from the down and investment coming from the top. Both are equally important, very much. So we need to think. Sometimes many people say research, so we do small research, but we should also have big picture. I will give you an example, mention about this. One is Toad's approach. So I think Professor Das Gupta is here. He works in one place in Tripura. Then another person works in Sikkim. Another person. So that person has a view that is a Toad's view, very localized. But if we have a systematic approach, and many of such researches are done in a consortium approach by combining with other institutions, other within Tripura University also, multiple departments. From the TOADS approach, if we are able to have a common framework and work and have a eagles approach. So you can see eagle is very much on top and we'll have a good view. So similarly in research, we should have both eagles the overview as well as towards approach so that bottom and the top down can be blended together to have a bigger impact, landscape level impact, or impact of H2O, which I mentioned from Himalaya to ocean. So all these are required. And for that, this blending is very, very important. So and we can do it. So if we have consortium approach and develop research proposals and work in multiple places and try to bring this stored approach and then have a common framework and develop it, I think we will be able to do it. Finally, there are, for this region, Indian Himalayan region, there are very good steps have been taken. There is the Himalayan States Regional Council for Sustainable Development in the Indian Himalayan region. Niti Aayog is coordinating it and chairing by Niti Aayog member, and all chief secretaries of the Indian Himalayan region, including Tripura, is a member of this. So this is what we have to really see at that highest level. So in Niti Aayog, 5 reports have been published for Indian Himalayan region. They are in tourism, they are in springs, they are in skills development, and they are also in sifting cultivation. Please look, Tripura, you are also here. Sifting cultivation report is also there, and then also one on data and management for the whole region. So those 5 reports are critical. All of you should suddenly, they are available in Niti Aayog's website. You can download and use that. Then we have to also take the benefit of the missions. There's a national mission on sustaining Himalayan ecosystem. DST is coordinating. Number of things are happening. I think Tripura University should take initiative to also get projects from here, and also National Mission on Himalayan Studies. I don't know whether you have taken earlier. Sikkim University has taken many projects, but this is also one of the mission. Already right now, I think there is an announcement for the new funding. So our researchers from Northeast, please look into this possibility. And now a new Prime Minister has launched a vibrant village program. These for the border states in the mountains. So Arunachal is very critical. That there are villages, Sikkim. So please look into this also, where as a researcher what we can contribute very much. And you can see in this, the report was being released. We were there. Assam Chief Secretary was sitting next to me, standing. You can see. And all these are media people and Simon myself, DST secretary. So it is really taken at that scale. Finally, what I would like to say is that we are in a mission or in a idea to have similar Indian Himalayan region assessment, which we had for 8 countries and call to action. So this is for technological, environmental, and socio-economic transformative change for the Indian Himalayan region to really move to that stage. We would like to have 3 years of assessment, because a lot of work has been done. This will not take 5 years in case here there are many documentation already available. But by another 1.5 years or so, then call to action discussion with all the states has to happen. because we would like to see the recommendation of this assessment being part of all the state governments, and the budget has to be planned within their state plans for future, for the state governments to take it forward. This is 5-year plan, and then not only the government should do. So definitely we would like to see the development partners, and then also we'd like to stakeholders like NGOs, local CEOs should be also empowered. So call for action in terms of practice should be going to these people, and in terms of policy to the government. So all these are possible. I would like to show by my last slide. This is the example of Nepal. If you see 1987, so the forest had been totally degraded. Can you see the forest here? How much degradation? So there was a big movement in Nepal, and government of Nepal, based on the research being done by many institutions like CIMOR, they said, okay, we need to do some action. So UNDP also, okay. So here government made one very major decision to devolve power to the local communities. Then local communities made community forest organization, community forest. So they are institutions. So local institutions were developed, and the benefit sharing mechanism were developed. Technologies were developed. You can see the forest is looking like this. So you can see how green the forest is now. Do you see? You go back and see from this situation, we have gone to this situation. Entire Indian Himalayan region or entire Himalayan region can be converted as green as this to have all the ecological resilience and the sustainability that we want to see. By looking at this, one can really believe we can make things happen, but everybody has to contribute together. It is not possible alone. This is a very, very forceful, powerful slide. You see again how it has been made like this. So, with this positive note, I would like to stop here, and would like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much. Interaction. Somebody wants to ask question. If somebody I'm right. No. Questions.
Although keynote addresses are not followed by interactions. So in that case, if there are any interactions, we can have them later on beyond the venue. Okay, beyond the auditorium. Yeah. So thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful keynote address. So exhaustive, so critical, as well as so analytical. So I'm sure you've opened many vistas for exploration and analysis at a later stage. Young researchers may have been very keenly here listening to you. All of us who do not belong to your discipline have been very keenly listening to you. So thank you once again. So with this, we come to the end of this keynote session. I request all resource persons, participants, students to proceed towards the new guest house for lunch. We shall now proceed for lunch. Vehicles are available outside this auditorium. We shall once again assemble for the technical sessions in academic building 11, technical session 1 from 3 to 5 p.m. in academic building 11. The venues are the Department of Forestry in academic building 11, and the Department of Forestry is on the first floor of academic building 11, and also the Department of Physical Education, which is on the ground floor of academic building 11. Also, there is another venue, that is the Department of Pharmacy, which is again in academic building 11. So accordingly, all the participants who have already received the schedule on your respective email IDs, are requested to proceed towards their respective, venues after lunch. Thank you once again.